to the channel, everyone, to a new episode of Running Down the Sidelines. And right out of the gates, remember to smash that subscribe button and give the episode a thumbs up. And if you want to be featured on the next episode of Running Down the Sidelines, leave a comment down below the video based on your opinion of today's topic and in any other sports thoughts you may have. Today's topic, though, is Bruins player development. And the reason why I'm focusing on this today is because in a previous episode I addressed a current contract situation that the Bruins players find themselves in. You have David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron both on one-year deals. David Pastrnak being on the last year of his current contract situation. So regardless of this season's end result, whether it's Stanley Cup or they get bounced out early, regardless of that, just for example, say David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron both retire at the end of the year. The Bruins are still going to have talent, but I wanted to look at what they have within the system already, within their AHL affiliate, the Providence Bruins. So today's topic, like I said, is Bruins player development, where before the start of this season kicked off back in August, it became fairly well known that the Bruins are dead last in player development throughout the entire NHL. That's a massive problem. So we're going to take a quick look at why they're dead last, which is a pretty simple answer, and who exactly they have that may be NHL ready down at the Providence Bruins in the AHL. So the reason why the Bruins are mainly dead last is because they have a lack of draft picks, because they've had to deal those away. And the few picks that they have had, the players that they have drafted, aren't developing to what they thought they'd be, which is either a coaching issue or whoever's doing their drafts, Don Sweeney, the GM, they're not making the correct choices. So it's pretty obvious and pretty blunt and simple on that. The three leading players that they have at the Providence Bruins are, I'll be honest with you, they're not all-around NHL players yet. Yes, they are young in age. They don't have much AHL experience, but I got to be honest with you, the ceiling is not all the way up here. The ceiling is more here, which is not what you want in your young talent to replace older talent or players that you may have to trade or you lose to free agency. So the first one we're going to take a look at is Fabian Lysol, who's a right winger who got drafted with the 21st pick in last year's draft. And his tier, this is interesting how they actually grade these AHL players. The tier of his play is middle of the lineup player, so maybe a second or third line right winger. I got to be honest, what I'm seeing here of his play and how they're actually grading his skills, I don't see him as a top six forward. I would see him as a bottom six forward. But they grade him on four things: skating, puck skills, hockey sense, and their competition level. I'm assuming it's Fabian, whatever it is. I'm not great with that name. Skating, above NHL average, great, you can move. Puck skills, he's at the NHL average. Hockey sense, he's at the NHL average. And his compete, though, and again, if you're a coach, this is a red flag. If you're a coach, you do not want to see a player's competition level below NHL average. That means either he's not putting out 110%, or he just, again, you almost question his effort when you see that as a coach, when it's below NHL average, his competition level or his competing level. Looking at here, he's 19 years old, so he's young. He's a kid. He's 5'10", 172, and he shoots right-handed. 5'10", little small, not little small, but 172 pounds. He's light. He needs to gain some muscle mass there. And 19 years old, he's young. I'm not saying that he won't be with the Bruins. I'm sure he will be at some point part of the NHL Boston Bruins there. But that is a headliner for your AHL Bruins. Not a great start. Our second standout at the AHL Bruins is a center, John Beecher, who's 21. He's 6'3", 210, and shoots left. So he's got the build for it already. He was drafted at the 30th overall pick in 2019, and his tier is that he's projected to play NHL games. So this kid is up and coming. He'll probably be with the club possibly as early as next year. All right, so the only areas that make me nervous, just as from a fan perspective, His skating and his compete level are both above NHL average, which is great, exactly what you want. His puck skills and his hockey sense are below NHL average. As a center in hockey, your hockey sense needs to be as high as you can get it, because you are expected to chip in offensively and also get back and you're also supposed to get back defensively as well. And if your hockey sense is below NHL average, to put it bluntly, it means you're not that smart. You know what I mean? You can't get sucked in too deep in the offensive zone and not be able to get back and help out defensively, because then you're a liability on your line. He's a little older than Lysol. He's 21, this kid, John Beecher. But he's got the size. You'll probably see him next year, depending on, like I said, if Krejci retires, Bergeron retires, and depending on what happens in free agency. All right, so in their third best star that they have at the AHL level is Mason Lowry. He's a defenseman. He's 21 years old, 6'4", which means he's tall as absolute hell. 195 pounds. Drafted in the 58 position in 2020, and he's projected to play in NHL games. This is where it gets fun. His skating is poor. That's simple and blunt. His puck skills, NHL average. Hockey sense is NHL average. And his compete level is NHL average. But he can't skate. His skating level is poor. And he's, go back up. He's 21 years old. And his skating is poor. I can't get over that. You play in the play in the AHL, you've been drafted by a pro team, and yet you can't skate. He has a heavy stride that will limit him defensively versus men. He's a defenseman who can't skate, and it says here, again, this is an analysis. He has a heavy stride that will limit him defensively. What the hell? I don't even know how you got to where you are, kid. Good. Your top 3 prospects playing for the AHL Bruins down in Providence, Rhode Island. And I got to be honest with you, those are the 3 best you got. Look, basically all I'm saying is I wanted to explore Bruins player development because 2 things. Either your draft picks are incorrect, you're drafting poorly, which means the people you do draft aren't developing the way you thought they'd be, which means you don't have a keen eye for talent, so to speak. The other thing, though, I wanted to bring up, too, is that the Bruins are 23-1 right now, I believe, after losing to Vegas at the TD Garden in a shootout just the other night, which means the Bruins are still technically, within regulation, undefeated at the Garden, which is 14-0-1, so you can't give them that. But bottom line is, the Bruins this year are on fire. It's Stanley Cup or bust as far as I'm concerned, and I think it's Stanley Cup or bust in that locker room just because you have the last roundup of Krejci, Bergeron, and maybe Pastrnak. If they can't re-sign him, that should be their first priority this offseason. But you don't have necessarily anything in the pipeline to come up as far as young talent. That's a problem. And I hate to say this, but I've been an early critic of Don Sweeney. I just believe that I'm not convinced that Don Sweeney is a great GM, and B, I mean, so what? You're gonna have a barn-burning season this season, right? As the Bruins are already on their way to that, and then if you have some guys retiring, you may not be able to resign some younger talent that are already playing at the Bruins level. And then you have nothing in the pipeline. So Boston Bruins fans, all I'm saying is that after this year, regardless of how they end up, whether they win the Stanley Cup or they get bounced and sent home early, you might have to be prepared for kind of a lackluster year next year. All right, I'm not saying the Bruins are not going to have talent. You're still going to have Brad Marchand. You hope to have Pastrnak. I mean, you'll still have Taylor Hall. You'll still have Charlie McAvoy. I mean, you're still going to have talent. You may not light the league on fire like they're doing currently. Again, we're looking at the Bruins player development down in the AHL level. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you want to be featured on an upcoming episode of Running Down the Sidelines, leave a comment down below. Let's get a dialogue going. Other than that, I will see you guys next week at the same time, same day, same channel.